Hi, this is Mr. Evans. This video looks at supplier power, and we're talking about the competitive environment and our analysis of the competitive environment using Porter's 5 forces, of which the power of supplier is one element that determines the kind of the nature of the competitive environment. So the power of suppliers, what we're talking about here is the ability of a business's suppliers to influence an organisation. And this is determined by the number of providers of the goods or services required in the production process. So it's probably easier to explain this with a couple of examples. One example that's been in the news, or these examples have both been in the news. Dairy farmers provide obviously dairy goods, milk, cheese, etc. Now in the UK, most milk and cheese and all the rest of it is sold through supermarkets. Now there are relatively few supermarkets and there are many dairy producers. So and they all produce a very similar product, okay, that's milk and cheese. And so if I'm a supermarket and I've got a choice of lots of suppliers who are trying to provide me very similar goods, if I don't like the price that you're trying to sell your milk to me for, I'll just say, well, hang on a sec, I'm just going to go down the road, and that farmer will be very happy to have my business. I'm Tesco, I buy a lot of milk, so they'll be wanting to provide me with a really good price. So Tesco have a lot of, and the other supermarkets have a lot of power over their suppliers, and it's not just dairy farmers, but that has been in the news, so you can look that up if you're interested. At the other end of the scale is a company called Foxconn, who are a big company who you may never have heard of, but you will almost certainly have come across products that use Foxconn's products. So Foxconn are I think they're Taiwanese, and they are a manufacturer of computer chips. And lots of companies use their computer chips, most notably iPhones use Foxconn computer chips, but other companies that use them, Sony are a big customer of Foxconn, Google are a big customer of Foxconn, Amazon, I believe, are a customer of Foxconn. So Foxconn is a massive supplier of raw materials to many companies. And as a result of that, it gives Foxconn quite a lot of power. Because if I need Foxconn chips to power my iPhone and I'm an Apple, I need to buy those products off Foxconn. Now then, Foxconn, therefore, if there's nobody else who can provide those chips for the iPhone 8, which is, you know, I'm speaking in September 2017, it's coming out shortly, that gives Foxconn a huge amount of power over Apple to be able to raise the price of their computer chips, because Apple need to make these phones, they need these computer chips, and Foxconn are the only people who can provide them. So in terms of the impact that the power of suppliers would have on functional or strategic decisions, the strategy needs to be to reduce the proportion of inputs to the production process provided by a single supplier. We need to have a choice of suppliers. Okay, we might buy all of our computer chips this time off one supplier, but we want to be in a position where we're not kind of beholden to them. We don't have to use them every time. So that needs to be our strategy. How can we go about doing that? Well, in terms of marketing, we might look to diversify our product range. Okay, so we might look to introduce new products that require different raw materials. So if one of our suppliers for one of our products puts up their prices, well, if it gets too bad, we can just go, well, we've got other suppliers, we've got other products, let's spread our risk. In terms of finance, well, maybe we'll look to increase our gearing, so we've got more cash, because then we're not we've got greater choice of suppliers. We're not looking for the suppliers that are going to be able to offer us credit terms. We can go to any supplier because we can pay cash up front for the product, and we don't need to rely on that supplier being generous to us and giving us credit terms. So it should increase the number of suppliers that we have available to us. In terms of operations, we would be looking to build relationships with new suppliers and maybe even increase the amount of buffer stock. So moving away from the idea of just-in-time production, where we're reliant on a particular supplier to hold our stocks for us, maybe we increase the amount of buffer stock that we're holding. Okay, that's going to incur different costs, but at least we're not absolutely reliant on a supplier to be there and supply our goods and services. Okay, so just a few ideas there on how to increase the number of potential suppliers that we've got. The key thing with this is that we want to increase competition amongst suppliers. If we've got fewer suppliers, they've got more power over us to set prices, therefore lower profits. If we get more suppliers, potentially we can drive down our cost of production, our variable costs, our raw material costs, and we make higher profits.